Hey, RHUMC Youth, we are so honored to have you with us tonight. Tonight, we're going to be doing another interview. If you haven't been with us this summer, most of June, we did interviews with people with varying backgrounds, lifestyles, stuff like that, and asked them the questions of how they love in God, others, and self. And tonight, we are honored to have Tim Saya with us. Recently retired from Richmond Hill Police Force. But we are so honored to have you. Tim, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Jack.
All right. Well, Tim, as every youth knows in our youth group, whenever we have someone new come, we always ask them some questions. And so if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and I have a few annoying questions to ask you that I make sure to annoy every youth with.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So the first question is this. Tim, what do you like to do for fun?
Well, I'm a golfer, and that's really where I like to spend most of my time. My free time is on the golf course. I'm also a trumpet player, and I enjoy playing my trumpet. I try to play that every day. Been playing that for 60 years, I guess. And so those are my two main things that I like to do for entertainment.
I did not know you played the trumpet. How cool is that?
Yes, sir. I'm
Oh, you got it in the room there. Look at that. How awesome. Well, that's very cool. So do you, now I knew Tim is a golfer. He is up in the top ranks of every time we have a tournament of being close to being a winner, if not the winner. So I knew about that, but I didn't know about the trumpet playing. So I'm surprised we haven't heard you in church yet. We got to get you. We got to get you playing.
Jeannie and I are working on that eventually.
All right, I'm excited. Okay, cool. So that's first annoying question. Second annoying question. What is your favorite movie?
Actually, my wife and I have three favorite movies that we watch repeatedly. Yes, we love Amadeus. Just saw that again the other night. We have it on VHS, if you can believe that.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, it's the story of Mozart, and we just love that. We also like The Greatest Game Ever Played, which is the story about Francis Ouimet, who won the U.S. Open as an amateur in 1913, and he beat Harry Vardon to do that. So we watch that over and over. And we also like Secretariat, because it is just a great feel-good movie.
Oh, man. Well, those are some awesome movies. There's some good sports movies. I would like to clarify for our youth, a VHS it's a cassette tape that you had to think of a VR that you would put the tape into. And this is where, and this is funny, but this is for real, where when we talk about like you rewind something or fast forward something, that was you were rewinding the tape so you could watch it again. So that's where that comes from, kids. Just so y'all know, so that the streaming didn't always exist. I like to make sure to let people know that things were not always as easy to watch. But those are some good movies there, and I like it. Some good sports movies, some things of that nature. Very good, very cool. Okay, so to jump right in to our questions. So our first major question is this: how, Tim, how are you loving God in your everyday life?
Okay, good question. The Bible tells us to be as Christ-like as possible. And of course, most of us come woefully short. I know I do. But I'm aware that that's what I'm supposed to be doing, and I am making an effort. A lot of my personality was influenced by my father, who was perhaps the most Christ-like person I ever met in my life. And he was just a true Christian man. He went through life doing one good deed after another. When he retired, he spent all his time taking care of other people, older people that couldn't get out. He'd go and buy their groceries and do stuff like that. So he was a great influence in my life. And by emulating my father, I think I'm honoring God.
Okay. Wow, that's awesome. That's kind of like how, Paul talked about, live like me and you'll be, living like Christ did, that ultimate example. And that's great that you have someone in your life like that. And I like the point you're making too of, we love God, and in loving God, we're going to look more like Christ, and
Mhm.
striving to follow the commandments that Jesus gave us, helps us to love God. It's a example of us loving God. So
Exactly.
I love that.
Exactly.
I love that. Um, okay, let's go on to the next one then. So you're loving God by living like Christ, but how are you loving others like Jesus loved others?
Well, I like to practice the golden rule. If you really practice that, then it's pretty hard to mess up. And I like to. I made a note here. I like to look at people from a humanity standpoint. Each person is just going through life trying to make it, and even when some people are being unpleasant, you really never know what's going on in their life. So, I've just found that. Uh, During my 67 years, it's been a whole lot easier for me to be nice to people. I don't even have to work at it. It just comes naturally. And I just enjoy having good, positive interactions with people. And I like to see people happy. And it makes me sad when I see somebody that's sad. So I do everything I can to send them my love and make people feel as good and happy as I can possibly do.
Well, and that's awesome. So the idea is that you're loving others by, I heard some mercy and grace in there. The fact that you are reaching out, giving that love, empathizing with people, with where they're at and what they're dealing with, and taking that into account, and then showing love accordingly. Now, for those you who may not know, Tim, for the last 15 years, has been a police officer in Richmond Hill. I just recently found out he just recently retired in May. So congratulations
Thank you.
on that. Thank you for your service.
Thank you very much.
But I think those qualities you just mentioned are great qualities to have in a police officer. And for those of you who may or may not know Tim very well, he was not to throw shade on the other ones who may do this, but Tim was by far my favorite police officer who directed traffic in front of the 3 elementary schools we have in town. And one of the reasons is because one, I know that's not the safest space to be in. You're standing in the middle of the street with cars going all around, but there was always a smile on your face, and you always had this joy emanating from you. And to me, I felt loved whenever I saw you out there, just loving, protecting, and helping those in the community. And if you don't mind my asking, um, now for those of you who don't know, Tim was not always a police officer. So Tim, what were you before you were a police officer, and what got you into going into being a police officer?
Well, I for 30 years prior to being a police officer, I was a doctor of chiropractic, and I had a great career and no regrets. But wanting to be a police officer is just something that happens to you, and when it bites you, it never lets go. And I found out at 52 years of age, the former Chief Reynolds, he said he wouldn't have any problem hiring a 52-year-old police officer. But I would have to do everything all the younger people did, go through the academy, pass all the firearms, the driving, and all of that stuff. And I just looked back and I said, this is probably it. I thought the opportunity had passed me by at that age. And then once I discovered that, it was still very much alive, I just decided to take a leap of faith and go for it. And after 30 years of chiropractic, I didn't quit. I retired from that. So, and I just said, this is God giving me a final chance to pursue a dream. And I just went for it.